Hello, ladies and gentlemen, here is a very important point. The hero has to be a monster. Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin with a question. What if the hero isn't just the one who triumphs over evil, but the one who becomes something monstrous in the process? What if the very qualities that make a hero capable of saving the world are the same ones that make him or her a force to be reckoned with, capable of destruction as much as they are of creation? This is not an easy idea to stomach, but it is one that we must confront if we want to truly understand what it means to be a hero in the real world. You see, we are often told that the hero is the shining beacon of goodness, the man or woman of pure virtue, the one who stands above the chaos, untouched by the very forces that threaten to undo civilization. But this idealistic image, while comforting, has a dark side. What happens when a hero is pushed beyond their limits? What happens when the shadow of their own humanity rises to the surface? In order to confront the darkest of forces, the hero must be capable of great violence, the kind that not only confronts the enemy but risks becoming the very thing they despise. Heroes must wrestle with their own inner monsters to become capable of facing the external ones. Think about it. What if it is the hero's capacity for chaos, for destruction, that allows them to engage in the battle for order? It is not enough to merely resist temptation. To become a hero, one must stare into the abyss and not flinch. The hero must develop a relationship with their own darkness, a mastery of it, so that it does not overtake them when the moment of trial arrives. In many myths and stories, whether it's the ancient heroes of Greece or the more modern-day figures in our own lives, this truth remains constant. The hero often has to do monstrous things to become monstrous in order to save others. You can't fight the dragon if you're unwilling to embrace the dragon's power. Consider the figure of the warrior, a person whose job is to enter the realm of chaos, to take on destruction, to stand between the world and an apocalyptic force. They wield a sword, they are unflinching, they are ready to burn what needs burning, to tear down what needs tearing down. But here's the catch: they have to be careful. If they are not careful, the sword they wield will burn just as easily as it burns the enemy. The monster is a fine line between that which can be used for good and that which can devour. In our modern world, we often try to bury the monstrous parts of ourselves, to deny them, and in doing so, we forget that these same parts can be harnessed for something far greater. If we do not own our capacity for aggression, for destruction, we will be crushed by it when the time comes. If we cannot confront the monster within, we will be left impotent when the world demands we fight. So, to be a hero means embracing your potential for monstrosity, learning to wield it with purpose and discernment. The greatest heroes are not those who avoid their darkness, but those who embrace it, who understand its power, and who are willing to use it for a greater good. You cannot conquer what you do not understand, and the hero, by definition, must confront and integrate their own shadows in order to face the world's greatest challenges. Remember, the hero has to be a monster. It is not enough to be good. You must be capable of evil and choose to transcend it. Only then can you become the hero the world truly needs. Thank you. Here are 6 key points from the speech. 1. The hero's complexity. The hero is not just a figure of pure virtue, but often embodies a capacity for destruction and chaos, which makes them effective in confronting evil. 2. Embracing inner darkness. To fight against the darkness in the world, the hero must confront their own inner monster, recognizing and mastering their own potential for violence and chaos. 3. The necessity of the monster within. Heroes must develop a relationship with their own darkness, as this allows them to stand against the external forces threatening order and civilization. 4. The line between good and evil. The hero must walk a fine line, using their capacity for destruction only when necessary and being careful not to let it overtake them. 5. The hero's role in society, in modern life. Denying the monstrous parts of ourselves leads to impotence in times of crisis. The hero must acknowledge and harness these traits to protect others. 6. Integration of shadows for greater good. A true hero transcends the evil within themselves by understanding it, choosing to wield it purposefully for the greater good, rather than avoiding it entirely. The idea that a hero is simply a figure of purity, goodness, and unwavering virtue is a comforting narrative, but it's also a limited and unrealistic portrayal of what it truly means to confront the challenges of the world. Heroes are often defined by their capacity to stand in opposition to evil, to be the shining examples of moral righteousness, but this idealized version of the hero overlooks something essential. The hero must be capable of engaging with and even embodying the very forces they oppose. In many stories, heroes are faced with monstrous tasks or enemies that require more than just good intentions to defeat. They are up against chaos, destruction, and forces far more destructive than any single individual could face with just kindness and light. The problem with focusing solely on the goodness of the hero is that it ignores the darker qualities that may be necessary to overcome these challenges. A hero who is completely detached from the potential for violence, aggression, or chaos would be powerless in the face of the world's harshest trials. What makes a hero effective in such situations is their ability to tap into their own capacity for destruction when necessary. The hero is not just a passive figure of light, but is often someone who has the strength to wield power, to challenge the order that has become corrupt, and to engage in battle when peace and diplomacy are no longer viable options. The hero's true strength lies not in their ability to remain untouched by darkness, but in their capacity to face it head on and ultimately use it for the greater good. This complexity makes the hero more relatable and real. A hero's power isn't just in their goodness, but in their willingness to confront their own darker impulses and integrate them into their identity. They are not perfect, nor are they immune to the destructive tendencies that exist in all of us. It is through this recognition and confrontation of their own potential for harm that they grow into the figures capable of making a real difference in the world. The hero is a force of balance, not one of simple, unyielding virtue, and this balance is what enables them to confront the most difficult challenges. To confront the darkness in the world, the hero must first confront the darkness within themselves. This is a difficult and uncomfortable truth, one that we often resist because it suggests that heroism isn't simply about being good, but about acknowledging and integrating parts of ourselves that we may not want to face. The hero's journey is not just an outward battle against evil. It is an inward struggle to come to terms with the potential for destruction and chaos that exists within. If the hero cannot understand and control this darker side, they risk being consumed by it when faced with overwhelming challenges. The struggle with one's own inner darkness is central to the hero's development. In most stories, the hero's greatest enemy isn't an external villain, but the temptation to give in to their own destructive impulses. This darkness is not necessarily evil, but the potential for violence, anger, and chaos that resides in all of us. If left unchecked, it can emerge as a force that not only undermines the hero's mission, but destroys them from within. The hero's task, therefore, is not to eliminate this darkness, but to accept it, understand it, and learn to wield it when necessary. This acceptance is not easy. It requires the hero to look at the parts of themselves they would rather ignore, the moments of rage, the urges to act impulsively, and recognition that they are capable of actions that could harm others. To deny this darkness is to deny an essential part of the human experience, and it leaves the hero vulnerable to forces they cannot control. The hero must be willing to confront these aspects of themselves directly, acknowledging their own potential for harm in order to understand how to use it wisely. When the hero embraces their inner monster, they do not become consumed by it. Instead, they gain the power to face external monsters with clarity and resolve. They are no longer naive or idealistic about their own nature. They understand the cost of wielding power and are cautious in how they use it. This awareness gives them the strength to resist being swept away by forces greater than themselves, enabling them to make the hard decisions that others may shy away from. It is only through this integration of the darker impulses that the hero becomes truly capable of facing the dangers that lie ahead. A hero's ability to confront and engage with their own darkness is not just about personal growth. It's a necessary step for them to effectively confront the external forces threatening the world. The world is filled with chaotic, destructive forces that cannot be dealt with by pure goodness alone. In fact, goodness without the capacity for violence, aggression, or destruction is often powerless when faced with true evil. To face such overwhelming forces, the hero must have the strength to tap into their own darkness to become something capable of withstanding the chaos that threatens everything. This darker side, when understood and controlled, becomes a tool that enables the hero to stand firm against the greatest challenges. This does not mean the hero becomes evil or loses their moral compass. Instead, it means they embrace the totality of their humanity, recognizing that within them lies the potential for both creation and destruction. The hero must integrate this potential, learning to control it and wield it in the right moments. It is a complex and dangerous process, but it is necessary if they are to effectively fight the forces of destruction. The hero must understand that in order to protect others, they might have to do things that others cannot or will not do, things that involve violence, aggression, or even the destruction of what is corrupt or evil. By integrating their inner darkness, the hero also gains a deep understanding of the nature of the external chaos they are fighting. They realize that in order to defeat the darkness in the world, they must first acknowledge and control the darkness within themselves. Without this understanding, they would be overwhelmed by the very forces they seek to battle. The hero who denies their own darkness is likely to be crushed by it, especially when they are faced with an adversary that understands and manipulates such forces. The ability to wield this darkness with control gives the hero an edge, enabling them to act decisively and without hesitation when the situation calls for it. They no longer have the luxury of remaining passive or naive. They understand the stakes, and they understand the cost of inaction. Only by integrating their own potential for destruction can the hero rise to the challenges they face, making them not just a figure of light, but a formidable force capable of confronting the chaos of the world. The line between good and evil is not always as clear as we would like it to be. A hero, in their quest to confront the forces of destruction, must navigate the complex terrain with care. The very qualities that make them effective in their fight against evil, such as their capacity for aggression, violence, and chaos, also come with the risk of turning them into the very thing they oppose. The hero's greatest challenge is not simply fighting against evil, but in using their darker abilities without becoming consumed by them. When the hero taps into their potential for destruction, they risk crossing a line. The power to act violently, to destroy, and to enforce order can be intoxicating. This power, if not kept in check, can easily turn the hero into a tyrant, a person who justifies their actions because of the greater good they are striving for. The hero, therefore, must constantly be aware of this danger and ensure that they do not become the very monster they seek to fight. This requires a deep understanding of the balance between strength and restraint, power and mercy. A hero must act decisively when needed, but also be cautious of the consequences of their actions. The ability to destroy is necessary in some circumstances, but it is not something to be wielded recklessly. The hero must be able to discern when it is appropriate to use force and when it is not, understanding that every action has consequences. Sometimes the most powerful act of heroism is restraint, knowing when to hold back to avoid becoming the aggressor without purpose. This balance is difficult to maintain, and the hero is constantly walking a fine line. They must be able to engage with the darkness in the world, to challenge the corrupt systems, to confront evil head-on, but they must also guard against being swallowed by it. The hero who loses sight of this balance becomes a dangerous force, no longer working for the greater good but for their own sense of righteousness. In the end, the true power of the hero lies in their ability to control the darkness within, using it when necessary, but never allowing it to define them or guide their actions indiscriminately. In the modern world, we often shy away from the darker aspects of ourselves. We are taught to emphasize the positive, to focus on our strengths, and to avoid acknowledging our potential for harm. However, this denial of our inner darkness can leave us powerless when we are faced with real challenges. The hero must understand that to confront external forces of evil, they must first confront and accept the chaos within. The ability to harness one's own destructive potential is not a flaw or something to be suppressed. It is a crucial part of becoming a hero who can withstand the challenges of the world. When a hero denies their own darkness, they become vulnerable. They may have good intentions, but without the ability to recognize and control their destructive tendencies, they can be easily overwhelmed by the forces they are trying to battle. In this sense, avoiding one's own inner chaos can result in helplessness in face of crisis. The hero who fails to recognize their own capacity for harm may be caught off guard when the world demands decisive action, leaving them unprepared and impotent when evil appears in its most brutal form. By accepting their darkness, the hero gains the strength to act when the situation calls for it. They no longer hesitate or feel paralyzed by the thought that their actions may have negative consequences. Instead, they are capable of acting with clarity, purpose, and understanding. They can face the destructive forces of the world because they have learned to control their own destructive impulses. This integration allows the hero to be a true protector, someone who is not afraid to confront the worst aspects of humanity, whether in themselves or others, in order to create a better world. The hero who embraces their capacity for aggression, violence, and destruction is the one who can stand firm in the face of overwhelming odds. They are not controlled by their darkness, but rather use it as a tool when necessary. They understand that their potential for harm is a part of who they are, and by integrating it, they gain the power to wield it responsibly. This self-awareness is what enables them to make the hard decisions that others might shy away from, ultimately giving them the strength to protect and defend when the world needs them most. True heroism comes not from the denial of one's own darkness, but from the ability to integrate it for the greater good. The hero does not simply avoid their darker impulses but confronts them, understands them, and learns to wield them when necessary. By accepting their capacity for destruction, aggression, and chaos, the hero gains not only the power to protect others, but also the wisdom to use that power effectively. It is this integration that allows the hero to transcend the evil they fight against. They are not immune to darkness, they are simply more equipped to confront it and choose a higher path. This understanding of the darkness within is what gives the hero their moral clarity. They do not approach the world with naive idealism, believing that evil can be defeated with goodness alone. Instead, they recognize that evil is complex and multifaceted, and to truly overcome it, they must understand its nature, not just in the world, but in themselves. This awareness allows them to make difficult choices, ones that others may shy away from, because they are grounded in the knowledge that the fight requires more than just good intentions. It requires strength, determination, and, at times, the willingness to embrace the darker side of their own nature. Heroes' power comes from this balanced integration of light and dark. They do not lose themselves in their darkness, nor do they become paralyzed by fear of it. They wield it with intention and purpose, knowing when it is necessary to act forcefully and when to show restraint. By doing so, they gain the ability to influence the world in ways that others, who deny their own shadows, cannot. They can face external monsters, whether literal or metaphorical, because they have already wrestled with their own inner demons. Ultimately, the hero's journey is one of transformation. It is about becoming whole, not by eliminating the darkness, but by recognizing and embracing it as a part of themselves. Only by integrating this shadow can they rise above the evil they fight, using it to protect, defend, and restore what is good. The hero transcends evil not by being free from darkness, but by learning how to face it and use it for the greater good. Through this process, they become truly capable of confronting the challenges of the world. 10 Rules to Transform Your Life in 2025 is a motivational speech that challenges you to take responsibility for your own life and embrace personal growth. Drawing inspiration from Jordan Peterson's philosophy, This speech outlines 10 powerful rules to help you navigate the complexities of life, cultivate discipline, and achieve lasting success. Each rule emphasizes the importance of confronting your weaknesses, setting meaningful goals, and facing life's struggles with courage and determination. By following these principles, you can create a life of purpose and transformation, making 2025 the year you unlock your full potential and become the best version of yourself.